And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're joining us here on No Game Scheduled, the show where we talk about sports even when there are no games scheduled. And whether you're listening to our exclusive extended version on Spotify or YouTube, or listening on WJOB 1230 AM 104.7 FM and joining us on the JED TV app, we thank you very much. There were some games scheduled, and there are some games scheduled, and we have a buffet of items to talk about. So I need a couple of people to help come up to the table and help me clear this out. And I truly mean a couple of people. We got Anthony Hudson, the host of It's My Turn with Anthony Hudson here. We got the Vibe Master himself, Caleb Bernard. We have the Florida man, Matt Lamsky. And we have NGS's newest contributor, Rob, the man in the boy aquarium, Aguirre. Gentlemen, thank you all for coming on here tonight. I was in Florida this morning. You guys sent up the bat signal. Caleb, you were like, why? Caleb said it best. He goes, why is the most stuff in sports happening when John's away? Well, I'm back. We're recording. None of us have enough sleep in our systems, but there's just too much to happen. Matt, I don't like the facial expressions you're making already.
There's a lot going on. A lot we need to talk about.
There is a lot going on. Let's give you a quick recap of what we're talking about today. We got the Super Bowl coming up, so we got some NFL stuff. The NBA world and trade market has exploded. If you see the yellow behind me, it's turned into piss green, that's my opinion about the subject, so you know what that's about. And also, in a crazy shift, for those of you who are, regulars on WJOB, I'm not a fan of wrestling. We're going to talk about some wrestling, and maybe we'll throw some other stuff in there as well. But let's get right into it. Gentlemen, the Super Bowl is this upcoming Sunday. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles in a rematch of 2023 Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs have been filled with controversy. The Philadelphia Eagles have been kind of an underdog, even only losing 3 games or whatever it was. I'm going to set some ground rules here. We're not talking about the refs or the Chiefs magic. I just want to focus on the game itself. And we're going to start off with Anthony Hudson. Anthony, the Kansas City Chiefs, they beat the Houston Texans. They beat the Buffalo Bills to get to where they are right now. The Philadelphia Eagles, they beat the Packers, the Rams, and the Washington Commanders. Your thoughts on this game so far overall, and which way do you think it's going?
I think it's definitely going the Kansas City Chiefs way. We talked about it last week. I thought my Bills, but I thought the Bills were going to make it. Matt, you were completely right. We should have never gone against the Chiefs, and I'm not going back against them right now. They just always find ways in the clutch to just see key situations to win the game, no matter what. No matter if they never ever when it's clutch, they never go backwards. It's never a sack. It's never a drop pass. It's never a fumble. It's always 4 yards going forward. Always Patrick Mahomes finding a way to dice and get to his key targets no matter what. And these key targets probably have the lowest rankings all season, literally all season. And he finds a way every time to slice and dice and to get down the field. So got the Chiefs winning. I don't even want to talk about the Eagles, man, because if I bring up all the stats about the Eagles, it's irrelevant. It really is irrelevant. It's the Chiefs all the way, man.
Speaking of stats, Rob, you're a guy who looks at them pretty deeply and knows what to do with them. What's your opinion?
Well, when you look at this game, you have the best player in the world in Patrick Mahomes, but on the other side, you have probably the best outside of him. You probably have the best offensive player in the league in Saquon Barkley. A fun stat for you guys, I talked about it earlier on my show on air. Since October 20th, Saquon Barkley has only not ran for 100 yards twice. He's able to get after it every single time. Of course, that's the bread and butter with the Eagles offense. The Eagles offense is going to be run the ball. Don't let Jalen Hurts have to win the game for us. If they can continue to do that, I believe that they have the more talented team when you look at it all the way around. But when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they have the best quarterback, which if he wins this one, he might be the best quarterback of all time. I believe that they have the best coach of all time in Andy Reid. And they have the best coordinator, who might be the first coordinator to ever make the Hall of Fame as a coordinator, in Steve Spagnuolo. When you look at that, it's a recipe for, it's not David versus Goliath. It's not the champion versus someone else. But this is literally two Goliaths, just two full-headed steamed engines going right at each other. And I believe we're going to be in for a great game this Sunday.
That's the one thing that's really annoyed me. It's Why some people I think were genuinely surprised that these two teams were rematching, and the Kansas City Chiefs realistically only lost one game, and the Eagles, I mean, Ant, help me out here. I think they lost 3. I mean, it wasn't even that much.
Yeah, 3 games. Yeah,
3 games. Okay, so I mean, total combined they lost 5. Realistically 4, because that Denver game, I don't think anybody counts that. And Caleb, excuse me. Ant and Rob can talk about the stats all they want, and Hall of Fame this, Hall of Fame that. You're the vibes guy. What are the vibes telling you?
The vibes told me this was going to be the Super Bowl matchup. No one listened. No one believed. I heard Lions, Bills, Tigers. Oh my! I heard everything. But when it got down to it, my homeboy got him to the Super Bowl. Hurts and Saquon have gotten him to the Super Bowl. The vibes tell me, I don't know. I keep picturing Jalen Hurts getting taken out of the college football playoff game at Bama. I keep thinking about that. I keep thinking about how he failed the last season, or not the last season, the last time he played the Chiefs. I just gotta pick my homeboy. And you know what? It's gonna be a crazy thing. Like Noah Gray is gonna get more targets than Kelsey. It's gonna be Pacheco. Like he's gonna have a bad game, but Kareem Hunt's gonna pick up the slack. It's gonna be something stupid, but the Chiefs just always find a way, like Ant said. And I'm not even gonna be disappointed. I know it's gonna happen. But it's gonna be a close game, at least for a little bit.
Matt, that's the same. Matt, you've been echoing that for like the last couple of weeks now, where it's like until you see the Chiefs lose, you're never gonna, bet against them. You keeping that sentiment still?
Yeah, I got the Chiefs clipping the wings off the Eagles for sure. I mean, maybe it'll be a close game. We've seen the Chiefs throughout the whole season win games, last possession, 1 or 2 points, by a field goal. I think that's going to happen again. I am very confident in the fact that Chiefs are always like the Eagles are going to be good. Saquon's going to have a good game. This game is going to end up with like Saquon having maybe 400 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and the Chiefs will find a way to win. They will find a way. That's just who they are. And say what you will about anything else. We're not talking about that. The Chiefs are a great team. I don't care about anything else that you hear. They find a way to win, and that is a great team. That's a great leader. That's a great cord. That's a great coach. Like Rob's saying, they are a great team. And to be honest, Kansas City fans are not that unbearable like Philadelphia fans. So I'm not upset with Kansas City winning.
Yeah, I think I know I just said no talks with the refs, but like that's like the thing I think a lot of people have a problem with is like the Kansas City Chiefs are a great team, right? Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame tight end, Hall of Fame. You just it's like a Mad Lib. You just fill in the blank. Name something in football. Equipment manager. They probably got a Hall of Fame equipment manager. There's some guy shining shoes that does a really good job at it. But the time and time again, the calls and the NFL media, it just feels like it's just been like some kind of narrative that's been pushed. And I think that's what people have a problem with. And I think that's kind of getting mixed up. I read this quote today. I wrote it down. I thought it was very accurate. It's from Colin Powell. Who he is, but it's quote, "No battle plan survives first contact with the enemy." Right. And similarly, Mike Tyson had a quote, "Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face." Right. That's, same sentiment there. So let's imagine the 2 game plans from both of these teams. All right. Saquon holding, rushing as much as he can, and the Eagles O-line coming up strong. That's their game plan. All right. What happens when that doesn't work for the Eagles? What happens when Saquon Barkley goes up against that Chiefs defense, which we've talked about is underrated completely? Rob, you and I have spoke about that privately. Completely underrated defense, completely underrated defensive coordinator. We'll start with there. Anyone can take the question. What happens to the Eagles if Saquon can't do what Saquon does? What happens if Jalen Hurts has to take the game? Go ahead, Matt.
I will take the question. The answer to that is nothing. They're going to stick. Eagles are a solid team. Chiefs are a solid team. If their game plan goes a little awry, they definitely have backup, and they have a backup to that backup. They're going to stay calm. That's who they are as teams. If they weren't like that, they would not be in this position. They are level-headed. They're going to be fine. They're going to keep trying it. If it doesn't work, they're going to try something else. That's kind of how I'm feeling. Obviously, something happens like Saquon breaks his leg. I would think like, okay, they're done. There's nothing they can do now. But no, they'll be fine. They're gonna find a way, stay level-headed. So that's how I feel about that. Anybody else?
Anyone else?
I was gonna go ahead. Ant. I'll go. I was gonna say the biggest thing there is just you got to pray. You have to pray if the game comes down to it, the ball being in Jalen Hurts' hand outside of a tush push, you need to pray because Jalen Hurts has never been a guy to stand in the pocket and make throws. I mean, you remember I think it was in the Super Bowl. Remember he threw that Hail Mary and it landed like 20 yards short. He doesn't have the arm strength.
Dude.
He's not someone to have to do something like that. But you also look at Saquon, it doesn't really matter. He's gonna eventually get that run. He's going to get that one run that is going to be an exclamation mark on the game, regardless of if it's a 20-yard run, an 11-yard run, or a 60-yard run. He's going to get it. But I want to say this because I have a key factor on both sides, and it kind of has to do with the same thing. The key factor is going to be what can the Eagles, offensive line do to contain, especially Chris Jones, because of that situation. And you also have Leo Chenal on one side, and I forget Carl Loftus on the other side. What can you do to contain them? And then the key factor on the other side is for the Eagles is how much havoc can Jalen Carter cause? Can he really torture and go after Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey up the middle? Can he really cause them some fits to maybe, hey, we're going to actually probably maybe try to get some sacks on Patrick Mahomes. You saw in the last game, Patrick Mahomes, when he had that, I believe it was that fumble that Ed Oliver recovered, not last week, the week before, that was their first turnover since week 11. Force them to turn the ball over. Make them do it. If you can get two turnovers out of the Chiefs, I like the Eagles.
Hey, what were you going to say?
I was about to say, first of all, I love that point that you put about with the offensive line because definitely they've been switching it. You've been seeing their guard and tackles, even their center. I think their center at one point had to change positions because the center got injured and had to get replaced with either the guard or the tackle. So that's a good factor. But I feel like as far as the Eagles, when it comes to it, y'all didn't even think of this or say this. What if Jalen Hurts does have a great game? What if he does have a perfect game?
He definitely could.
Because we looked at the last time they were in the Super Bowl, right? What was the only thing that hurt him last time? That fumble. If he didn't fumble that football, the Eagles would have won the game. Well, they would have won the game. They literally, Nick Bolton, they would have won the game. They lost 30-35. So what if Jalen Hurts really does have a perfect game? Honestly, and I know it's been struggles all year. I know there has, but they still have Goddard, one of the best tight ends in the whole entire league. They have A.J. Brown, who's been an all-pro all of these years. Devontae Smith, literally Heisman Trophy winner coming into the league. They have the weapons, honestly. So I feel like that might be a situation because we see it all the time in the Super Bowl. Unlikely heroes who literally have been struggling all season have a great game. And that's the whole reason why they win. So maybe if Jalen Hurts if that's the situation, pick Jalen Hurts to have a perfect game, man, they could prevail and go through. But is it likely? No, it's not.
Caleb,
it's not likely.
I was going to say the Chiefs defense was held pretty, like Karlaftis, Joe, all of them show up when they were playing the Bills. And I believe the Eagles O-line is in fact better than the Bills. We've been saying it all season. They have to make the holes. They have to block the people so Saquon can get the run. And when you marry the two of talented running back and good O-line, they come together. You have a historical season like he had. So I'm hoping maybe for the Chiefs' sake that they have a better game than what they did against the Bills. But I'm not betting that they're going to have a crazy monster game that you suggested.
One thing to look at too. Of course, the Chiefs like to force a lot of turnovers. That's one of their biggest things. Of course, you mentioned that one with Nick Bolton. When you have McDuffie back there, it's a very good defense. Jalen Hurts has 1 interception since September. Keep an eye on that. Can he continue to not, force the ball in certain situations? But Spags is going to force it. He's going to show that he's going to send it on third down. He's going to disguise those blitzes, look like he's going to, and drop it all in coverage. And there's a reason, like I said, he's a Hall of Fame coordinator. So I think that's going to be a big thing to look out for. Can Jalen Hurts, like you said, take care of the ball?
So that's the question I had for the Eagles, right? That's probably their game plan is, right, hey, let's let Saquon run the ball. We know what happens if Saquon can't run it. What happens if the O-line collapses? I didn't even have to ask that question. You guys touched upon it. Here's the question I have, same vein for the Chiefs, right? What are you going to do when you don't get the ball as long as you need or want, right? We all know what this Philadelphia offense is going. You guys just touched on all of it, right? What happens, what's going to happen, what they're going to do, right? Let's say everything goes the Eagles' ways offensively, right? We don't need to talk about defense yet. let's say Saquon Barkley runs the ball as much as he can. Let's say he stays in bounds as long as he possibly can. That clock ticks, right? Say Jalen Hurts takes care of the football. So if you're the Chiefs, what's the one way to beat Patrick Mahomes? Keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. What do the Chiefs have to do to make sure that does not happen? Is that the same stuff you guys were saying with they just got to isolate Saquon Barkley? They got to go for – is the main priority 3 and outs or just really efficient offense? Somebody help me out here.
Well, when you look at the Eagles –
go ahead, Rob.
Here, you go first this time, man. You go first this time,
okay,
man.
Fair enough.
Okay. No. Definitely keeping it off of script. So you think about like on script with the Chiefs getting 3 yards and keeping the momentum down, right? The Eagles want to keep them off the script. So like limiting the amount of chunk plays and the amount of plays they could get down. And then also another thing, special teams. Special teams might be a really big, huge boost that we really don't even talk about. Those punts, 40-yard, 50-yard punts down the field can be really huge as far as special teams. So those are 2 things that I got to say.
And the big thing I was going to hit at is when you look at the Eagles offense all year, the big thing that they've done is control the time of possession because they're able to dominantly run the ball. If you can keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, if you could consistently put through a 6 to 7 minute drive every single time, you're really taking the ball out of his hands. You're forcing that defense to get tired. And you see Chris Jones. Chris Jones is going to wreak havoc, but he's really only doing it for a couple plays because he needs to come off the field. I mean, he's a big dude. He's tired. So if you can really control the clock, it's going to help them a lot. But Patrick Mahomes, it's just, if he has the ball late in the game, I believe he's 7 for 7 now. If he's trailing in the fourth quarter or a tie game, he's got it every time. Brady's 5 for 11. He is 7 for 7.
It could be 13 seconds. Doesn't matter.
So let me ask you, well, this is like the one last question I have, and then we can maybe just move on or we can go into a free form. But what did the Eagles learn from last time, right? Like I said, this is a rematch, right? There's new players on both sides, right? Saquon wasn't there the first time. Pacheco wasn't there last time for the Chiefs. So the running back game is different for both teams. But the big players are relatively still there. But more importantly, and I think this is one that goes underrated, is the coaching staffs are still there, right? This is Nick Sirianni's, next go. Everybody thought he was going to be fired at some point this season. Andy Reid, he's back at it once again. I mean, finally a Super Bowl where Andy Reid wasn't a part of it. So again, that's the question. What did the Eagles learn? Matt, we'll go with you.
I don't know if they've really learned anything other than hand Saquon the ball. They haven't changed too much. They just have like another extra layer now. And like that, I mean, it's a huge extra piece in Saquon Barkley. I think one thing that they have learned is to never count the Chiefs out, and they play to the last whistle now. Hold on to the football, like we've been saying, Jalen Hurts can't get rid of it. He can't lose that ball. And Rob made a good point with the one interception. That's something to look out for. So I think that's maybe all they've learned. I don't think they've really learned much else. They have a different piece now, and I think that's more something the Chiefs need to learn how to deal with. Because the last complete team that they faced, running back, wide receiver, quarterback, was the Bucs. That was the last complete team they faced.
49ers then.
Nah, Purdy was not that good. Purdy wasn't that good. Purdy was not on the same level as Hurts, or definitely not Brady.
But it's the pieces that went with it that brings him up. It's a situation where Brock Purdy, he's not the guys that have been in the Super Bowl compared to him in the last, 10 years or so. But the pieces he's had around him has kind of, supported him a little bit. It's a situation where, you put fire, put a piece of firewood onto the fire and it burns together, right? So yeah, you still have Christian McCaffrey, who was the best running back in the league, like offensive player of the year last year. You have George Kittle, you got Ayuk, Yudzik, you had all these guys, and the defense was pretty good. So yeah, was Brock Purdy Patrick Mahomes? No, he wasn't. I mean, even if Brock Purdy was, shoot. If he was, at that point, if he was Baker Mayfield, the 49ers probably win the Super Bowl. I'll give you that. But the 49ers were still a complete team.
They were not. I disagree. I mean, I'm not saying that the 49ers weren't a complete team. I just don't think they've faced a complete team since the Bucs. Since the Bucs. That's what I'm saying. 49ers were a complete team outside of Brock Purdy. The Eagles are a complete team like the Bucs.
One thing to look at too with this Eagles team, of course, I keep talking about coordinators, but they have Vic Fangio. Look at what he's done.
Thank you for saying that.
Look what he's done for their defense. Of course, us as Bears fans, we know all about Vic Fangio from what he did with that 2018 team. A lot of people thought he should have got the head coaching job at some point. He ended up getting a head coaching spot with the Broncos, but Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive coordinators this game has ever seen. And what he's done for this Eagles defense, it helps everything. That's where they definitely improved. But I also think that just playing in that game, now you know what to expect. You know what to expect in a Super Bowl, and you know what to expect in your opponent because you faced them already. So that's definitely a big bonus for the Eagles as well.
Shut up, bro.
Go ahead, Ant. Go ahead.
I was about to say, Rob, I literally was about to say that, bro. Vic Fangio, like literally him in the two high safeties. I mean, you look at that took over the whole entire league. Like literally everybody doing two high safety because literally, especially against the Chiefs, because back in the day with Tyreek Hill, you had to do two high safety. You had to. And that literally re-stormed like the whole entire defense in the league. So I'm glad you said that. And then we got to look at the Georgia boys, man. Come on now. I mean, you look at Jordan Davis. You look at Nolan Smith. You look at what's it called?
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter. You already said. N'Kobe Dean. Come on now, man. Look how dominant the Georgia boys have been for the Eagles. That's the answer right there, bro. That's the answer, literally right there. I'm calling Nolan Smith 2 sacks. He's not gonna win, but 2 sacks. And I'm calling it. They're going to have a great game, but I still don't see them winning. But yeah, that's going to be the key difference for the Eagles right there.
I forgot what I was going to say there for a second because Ant was yelling in my ear about Jordan. Go Dogs! I forgot it again, even laughing at it. Shoot. Hang on, I'll find it. Hang on.
Georgia, man, Georgia. They're coming down the track.
I got it. This is everyone's pointed it out, all right, that until last game against the Bills, the Chiefs have not scored over 30 points in a game, right? I mean, like, again, and I say that's a credit to the defense more than the offense. If you can't score 30 points a game and you essentially only lost one game, that's entirely the defense's credit. I don't give anything to the offense, right? This is about to be the toughest defense they've faced all season. I think back, I mean, I know the Raiders had a pretty good defense, right? The Raiders were, a long snapper away from actually winning that game. Cole Kmet probably could have done a better job. Caleb probably could have done a better job. But this Eagles defense will be the toughest the Chiefs have faced. Now, are we counting on the fact that the Chiefs have all this Super Bowl and postseason experience? Do we think that's conditioning enough to play a defense as tough as this, or do we think maybe the wake up call is going to come in the Super Bowl?
I feel like maybe not a wake up call because, like I said, Patrick Mahomes literally can find a.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it is the Chiefs.
It is the Chiefs.
There's other players on the field,
I definitely feel like it's going to be a tougher matchup, like you said, because this is one of the tougher defenses that they've faced all season. It's definitely, compared to other defenses, yes, 100%. Like, if that's the question, yes, 100%. But it's not going to be like a 100% dominant, like, Legion of Boom game. Like, I don't see that happening. That's what I'm saying as far as that. But the Eagles defense going to definitely outperform the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. And they're going to make some noise with their blitzes. Like I said, the 2 safety high defense is amazing, but to say they're gonna have a dominant game it's hard because I could say they have a dominant game and they lost. Does that matter? No. So,
hey man, until you win. Well, the Super Bowl is set for this upcoming Sunday. We're recording on Wednesday night, February the 5th. By the time we end recording, it might be February the 6th. Who knows? Late night recording here. We're going to move on from the NFL. We're just beating a dead horse at this point. We're nothing much to talk about until the game actually happens. And then we don't talk about the NFL for a couple of months after that. Let's move on to the NBA. This is something I've wanted to talk about pretty much for the last week or so. Before we go on to what we really talk about, we have some breaking news here tonight. It is currently, like I said, February 5th. It's 10:51 p.m. here Central Time. Rob, you told this to me, and so now I'm breaking this out. Matt, Ant, Caleb, I don't know if you have heard this yet, but according to Shams Charania, the New Orleans Pelicans have traded Brandon Ingram to the Toronto Raptors for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, 1 first-round draft pick, and 1 second-rounder. sources tell ESPN. So that's probably the second biggest move of the night. We've had some pretty big moves today, in fact, but just initial reactions on Brandon Ingram going to the Raptors. And you seem very adamant.
Why can't the Hawks ever get Trae Young help? Ever.
You had
Why?
DeJounte Murray. You had DeJounte Murray, and you blew it.
DeJounte Murray. So we got a second guard for him. That's it. That's literally it. Why can't the Hawks ever get Trae Young help? Why? And he went to Toronto. Who does Toronto?
You guys want Lonzo Ball? Please.
They got Scotty. He could go play. He could go play with Scotty.
Okay.
You're talking about the Hawks. You got to talk about the Raptors.
No. I asked who do the Raptors have. They got Scotty. Okay, that's solid. That's solid.
The Raptors have.
Well,
they got RJ Barrett too. I forgot they had Barrett.
Ooh.
No, Scottie Pippen.
I mean, it's a bunch of wings.
Grizzlies.
Oh.
No, Scotty Barnes.
You're talking about Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's crazy. Just a quick recap there. We're gonna go on to the biggest trade, not only in NBA history, but potentially sports history as a whole. I'll go through some other comparisons here in a second. Luka Doncic. This is. I'm going to keep this. It's probably going to accumulate value over the next couple of years. There's going to be kids born within the next 10 years who had no idea that Luka played on the Mavs, because Luka Doncic has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, as well as Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. They go to the Lakers. Dallas, the Mavericks, in return, they receive Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a Los Angeles 2029 first-round draft pick. And for whatever reason, the Utah Jazz have been thrown in there. They receive Jalen Hood-Schifino, a Los Angeles Clippers. I don't know how they adjust to this at all. 25 second-rounder and a Dallas 25 second-rounder. I'm going to just ask the question immediately. We'll start with Caleb in the bottom there. Is this the biggest trade in sports history?
Yes, because of the sheer stupidity. Just the generational talent, right? Generational. Let's remember that word. Generational. When's the last time we've seen a generational talent get traded for peanuts and eggs?
So, Caleb, here we go. So a lot of websites, Fox, ESPN, they've done the due diligence of looking these up for me. So these are the five that I think. Here are probably the five biggest trades in sports history. All right, outside of this. So Kevin Garnett to the Celtics, Alex Rodriguez to the New York Yankees, Wilt Chamberlain to the 76ers, Wayne Gretzky to the Kings. And if you had to ask anyone over the age of 50, it's probably this one, Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees. So those are probably the five biggest ones in all of sports. Does this equate to any of that?
Yes, it does. And solely for the main reason, have we ever, first of all, I'm going to give two. Have we ever seen a generational talent, like you said, Caleb, go to the finals the year before and get traded mid-season? And then second, have we ever seen a starter get traded for a starter? Like I don't mean like just like a starter, like a just role player. That I mean a generation, the offense get traded for the offense. Like I've never seen that before, and not like in age value, like AD's 31, Luka's 25. Like we never seen this before. So never seen before, always gonna win in my opinion. Babe Ruth might be number one. That's wild. I'm not gonna lie, but number two, Luka AD, man.
Matt, you were shaking your head there for pretty adamantly.
Bro, Babe Ruth? What? No, dude. He was smoking like 40 packs a day, and he's peak athlete, he's peak male. Listen, I'm a baseball guy, not like to heart, but that's not the trade. Like, Babe Ruth is not like the trade of all time. It's probably Wayne Gretzky. If it's not Wayne Gretzky, wasn't there somebody in the NBA, I'm forgetting who, that was traded for it was like one guy, and they got like 17 picks for him. Like, I feel like there was something there.
Paul George.
Talking about Paul George.
Yeah, Paul George, though.
That might be like the biggest trade because of how that's stupid.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's not. I'll say this: that doesn't compare to this because those were all picks and unpotential, like non-big players. I'm watching Phoenix versus OKC right now. Nobody predicted that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would be a top 5 player in the league. No one predicted that. He was second in MVP voting last year. No one predicted that with Paul George. We know what's on the table with Anthony Davis and with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, 2009 Rookie of the Year, 5-time, first team All NBA, went to the finals last year, scoring champion. Everybody knows his stats. Anthony Davis, go argue with the wall when I say this, one of the best defensive players to ever touch a basketball ever.
When he's healthy.
Yes, sir.
My favorite graphic of all time is like Anthony Davis led the league in college basketball in blocks. Who was number 2? Michigan State. Like, he was out blocking teams in college. And let's be honest, I know there's a lot of supplementary. This is how most trades are nowadays. It comes with someone else. I can't tell you the last time I've seen a 1-for-1 trade. It always comes with like, hey, we'll give you, we'll fill your Coke machines for the next 2 years, and we'll also, we'll individually pump all the basketballs up on game day. It's always comes with like some random piece of information. But this is essentially was a 1-of-1 trade. Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. I'm a Luka Doncic fan. Everybody who knows me and knows I love sports knows that. This might be the dumbest shit of all time.
All right, I'll go.
Go ahead, Rob.
I actually disagree. So when you look at, I'm going to talk about it from both sides, okay?
I'll play devil's advocate too, so go ahead.
So there's something we don't know as for the reason this trade even happened. There is definitely something we don't know. And I also feel like as Luka got traded, because they talked about how heavy he was, he doesn't look heavy when he was sitting on the Lakers bench. I think this could have been like a little James Harden thing. Remember when James Harden wanted out of Houston, he wore the fat pack under his warm-up suit.
Say it, Matt.
Definitely had a pregame meal.
He ended up in Brooklyn, and then the dude had a six-pack again. So when I look at this trade, right, of course, Luka led them to the finals. Luka was averaging 35, 9-9 or something in the finals on one leg, and he was fat. All right. So if you look at this, but the way it's been going this year, he's been hurt, and they look at the way the team is built. I don't believe that they could have won a championship with the way that they were built. So they say, look, the way that this guy is, his conditioning, this, that, do we want to give him the biggest contract in NBA history at $70 million a year, $350 million? They look like they didn't want to, right? And this is also the GM who did not draft Luka Doncic. That's the biggest key factor right there. He did not draft him. He came into, that was going to sound out of pocket. He came into a situation where Luka Doncic was there. So if you're the Lakers, because they only called the Lakers, but if they started shopping Luka around, there would have been speculation. Something's wrong with Luka, and his value would have dropped. So you trade him to the Lakers, you get AD. AD is a top 10 player in the NBA. As you said, he's one of the greatest defenders of all time. This season, he's averaging like 26 and 12, and he's been healthy the past 2 years. So does his fit work better with the Mavericks when you look at Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, and AD? Is that duo right there good for the next 3 years if you believe your championship window is now? Because the Lakers make this trade for the next 15 years. It's not just about this year. It's for the next 15 post LeBron. And LeBron could be able to help Luka. They have kind of the same I'm not saying built the same. They're both about 6'8", both about 250 pounds. He can show him how to get your body right, how to condition. He's like, I lasted 20 years doing this. You could do the same. You could be an all-time talent. I like the trade for both sides. And there's only one way to tell, and it's going to be how does this work out for the Mavericks? Because the Lakers are not going to tell right now. But how can this work out for the Mavericks? Say if the Mavericks make a conference finals this year, does it work out? We'll have to see.
I've created the perfect comparison here. You make a compelling point, Rob. First of all, you are correct. The Lakers absolutely fleeced the Mavericks. I would do that deal. Would you do that deal? Yeah, I'd take that deal.
Yeah, you'd be crazy not to, but I think that
crazy not to, right? The reason you would be crazy not to take that deal because it's crazy to think Luka Doncic would ever leave the map. No, let me back up. It'd be crazy to think anyone would trade Luka Doncic. I don't care if he's got weight and conditioning problems. This guy dropped 73 on the Atlanta Hawks. Sorry, that's not a stray. 73 on the Atlanta Hawks last year. Let me tell you this. A lot of people I've seen online have been trying to draw the NBA comparison, the NFL comparison to this trade. And I've seen a lot of people say it's Joe Burrow for TJ Watt. Listen, for the people who have said that or whoever made that originally, that's a pretty good comparison, and I give you a lot of credit for that. Here's the actual comparison to me. Luka Doncic in this situation is Shohei Ohtani. He's going to LA. He's going to carry that franchise for however many years after the guy who's already there is leaving, aka Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts in the situation. It's LeBron in the NBA situation. But if you're the Dallas Mavericks, let me tell you something. Let me share with you a story, anecdotal story. I went to a Pacers and Mavericks game last year in Indianapolis at Gainbridge. It was an easy drive. The tickets were cheap. Luka's my favorite player. Me and my dad try to go to one NBA game every year. We wanted to go see Luka. We got to the arena right when the gates open. There was some timing issues, so gates got opened a little bit earlier. Every single kid, parent, person in that arena was there to see Luka Doncic. You giving him that max contract, I know it's easy to look at it at a basketball standpoint, right? Hey, you're going to fill up the salary cap. It's going to be struggles to build players. You got to look at this as a business decision. This is an international superstar, top 5 player in the league, top 5 generational talent. More than likely, he's got Michael Jordan numbers. We've all seen the stats they've put up on the board. I don't care if it's a business decision. Oh, we don't want to pay that money. You will make all that money back in ticket sales, jersey sales, everything. And you're already losing money. The Mavericks have offered refunds to season ticket holders. I don't think this was a basketball decision. I think this was a business decision, and I think it was a bad business decision.
I want to hop in real quick. I have to agree with Rob to some standpoint of playing devil's advocate, because looking at Luka, like he does look like he's gained a little weight, but I do agree. If Luka wants to run up the court with a cigarette in his hand, you let him. Like, you just let him. But I don't know many NBA players that are gaining weight and are, I can't believe I'm saying this on this podcast, are top 500 in Overwatch. If you're top 500 in any game, any video game, and you're like a professional player, you may need to rethink your priorities a little bit. Now, if you got the time for that and your body's great, like if LeBron was a top 500, I wouldn't think questions of it, because he's had a great career. He's leaving a legacy behind. His body's in great shape. He's still dropping 25 a night. I wouldn't think anything of it. Luka's not at that point yet. Like, Luka's a great player. He's the future of the league, but he's just not at that point. So it raises the question of how dedicated are you? Is he a good player?
2 things.
Yes. Does he deserve that Supermax? Yes. Is Dallas wrong for rethinking giving him that Supermax and offloading him? No.
I'll say 2 things. Number one, during their three-peat, even at the first one, Shaquille O'Neal was consistently overweight and out of shape at the start of every single season. Kobe Bryant shamed him for it. That's the reason their relationship was so rocky, is because it took Shaq 20 to 30 games to get in shape. Well, guess what? They won 3 championships. So again, if that's something you got to work through. But also, we've all seen the thing where Luka came on and said, hey, they fired all the people that I liked, and they tried to get new people in. It's come out that the Mavericks fired all of the training, the conditioning staff, and they got new people in there, and he was still gaining weight. Okay. So at what point is that your fault? At what point did you hire bad training and conditioning staff? You hired bad dietitians. You hired bad, I don't know, lifestyle coaches or anything. At what point do you, as an owner, and I hate to say it this way, but an NBA player, the NBA player, your team, that's your product. At what point is it your job? Is it your responsibility to just take care of your product? If you don't like that Luka Doncic is overweight, you as a general manager, go follow him around and smack every donut out of his hand. We all saw that video of someone taking that beer out of Luka Doncic's hand. Go do that all the time if you're mad with his weight, right? Don't have him lift weights. Hey, we're having a workout. Luka, you go on the treadmill for the entire practice. We know your ball skills are good. Go burn it off. At what point do you have to accept responsibility? I'm boggled with this. I think, first of all, again, Rob, you hit the nail on the head. As much as I'm a LeBron detractor, he's done a great job taking care of his body. I think Luka looks up to him a lot. I think LeBron sees him as his mentee, his next project. I think this is going to work out for the Lakers tremendously, and I think Nico Harrison's going to be fired within the next 3 years. And I think the Adelson family is just going to ruin the franchise because they're already doing it.
I genuinely want to ask all you guys here, though. Anyone can take it. So, as I said, I don't mind the trade because it's 2 top 10 players getting traded both ways, right? If you really wanted to get rid of Luka, I don't think there was a better package. So, is there any other package that you think that they actually could have gotten better outside of just saying, oh, you could have got 6, 7 first-round picks? Because we know that first-round picks don't always work out in the NBA now. It's rare that it does.
Let me tell you something. I think there are several teams in the league. So there's 30. So I'll say there's probably about, I use this number already. There's more than 20 teams in the NBA who would trade their best player for Luka Doncic right now, right? If you shopped them around, I could easily see the Celtics going, Jaylen Brown, we don't really need you, right? Kristaps Porzingis, we can send you back to Dallas. Honestly, let me tell you something. the rest of the team wouldn't look so good because you have to trade so many players. But I think Denver would have been willing to get rid of pretty much everyone except Jokic to bring in Luka, and they would have filled the rest of the roster with UPS players on 10-day contracts. They would have done that the rest of the season. If they shopped Luka, let me tell you something. You would have seen a lot of packages. New Orleans would have sent pretty much everyone. They would have sent Ingram and Zion.
Nice.
OKC, I think, is a team that wouldn't. I think OKC would have stayed away from it. The Timberwolves, I mean, you know what? The number one team, I'll tell you what am I talking about? The Knicks would have blown up the entire system they would have built, and they would have had Tom Thibodeau beat that man into shape.
That one's not bad.
Ronnie,
I'll be honest, because the only other one that crossed my mind was Denver. That was really the one that I was like,
the Bulls maybe could have made a compelling
but
offer.
That's the thing. But if you look at Nico Harrison's reasoning, right? That's why I say I don't mind the AD trade, because it was a top 10 player. He said we feel like we could compete now, and we want a big that plays defense. So you get a guy who averages 26 points and is the best defender in the NBA outside of Victor Wembanyama. I mean, that's a really good thing to look at. So I don't think that there's too many teams that could offer a top 10 guy.
Here's the next problem you run into, right? That's a great idea. We have a video on this channel. If you're watching on YouTube and Spotify, scroll back a little bit, you'll see it. I have a video called How Key is Klay? And I talk about the entire success built around Klay Thompson coming to that team and all the additions that they made. Klay Thompson went to this team to play with Luka Doncic because he knew what Luka offered, drive and kick. He's one of the best passers in the league. Kyrie went to this team because he knew what he offered, the driving and the three-point shooting, worked in the isolation, worked really well with Luka. You brought a lot of talent into this team to build around Luka, and guess what? They know Luka's no longer there. So Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving, yeah, I know they've played with, they've played with and against AD for a super long time, but how are those guys going to relate to each other? This word gets used a lot in the NBA, and I think it should. The word is fit, right? Yeah, AD is one of the best rim protectors. He's a great three-point shooter. He's not going to have to play the five, Gafford and Lively. I like both of them a lot as centers. I think Lively is one of the best young centers in the league. So ADs can get to go play the four. But you got to worry about the 3, 2, and the 1, and I don't think they're happy right now.
I understand that, but I mean, at this point, you still have Kyrie Irving on the team. At this point, he would just become the shot caller. Like, he will have to take over the roles and responsibilities that Luka has, and it's going to be.
That's another thing too. And I'm going to cut you off real quick. I'm cutting you off. There is no. You have a team of Robins. You have a team of Robins. You have a team of guys who have been the second best player, third best player on every team they have ever been on. You don't have. Kyrie has tried to be the number one option. Guess what? It didn't work. Klay Thompson has legitimately never been better than the second best player on his team. Anthony Davis has had to, he did a great job. He did a great job in the finals, right? The bubble year. Him and LeBron have gone back and forth. He's obviously shown that he could be the number one option in the regular season with the Lakers the last 2 seasons, but the playoffs come and it just doesn't work out that way. But you have you don't have a guy who has ever had to put the team on his shoulders before. And so now you have to ask the question, who is it? Is it Kyrie or is it AD? Who is going to be the team's number one guy?
No, I'll
ask you that question. I'll ask all you that question. If you had to pick between AD and Kyrie, who do you want as the number one?
Anthony Davis.
100%. But that's a great take.
I want Kyrie take. Kyrie's got the ball, and when it hits a minute left in that fourth quarter, that ball's not leaving Kyrie's hands. He's taking that shot because that's what Kyrie does. Kyrie's going to hit you that game winner. Kyrie's going to hit that clutch shot that you need. But then you have Anthony Davis and you have Klay Thompson standing in the corner. That's why I think it could work. I think this could really actually be good. The thing that we need to hope for, we get a Lakers-Mavericks playoff series. Could you imagine what Luka will put up in that series?
Ticket sales will be crazy, man.
He's gonna average.
I feel like
Dallas, Alice, Malice, Lakers in 5.
I feel like we've overlooked some things with Anthony Davis. We used to call him street clothes for a reason. Because he struggles to complete a full season playing, 80, 70 games.
Yeah, but he's fixed that.
He's 31. He's 31 years old, right? So he's not getting any younger. So trading your 25-year-old generational talent for this guy who struggles with injuries, who's 31, that's what the issue comes from. If they traded for Victor, I'd say it's more even. But this trade here, health issues, everything, no. Definitely top.
I think that the big issue that people are having with this trade is the fact that they were in the finals last year. if they didn't make finals, if they were like barely scratched by in the playoffs, I could see how people would be like, okay, that's not a terrible trade. But they made finals last year. So that's why I'm thinking people have a problem with this trade, because it's just such a shock. It materialized overnight. It was coming out of the shadows, and then bam, he's gone. I agree on the Anthony Davis injury stuff, but do you need him to be healthy? What, let's say it's 82, 6, like 98. Do you need him to be healthy 100 games a season? No. You need him to be healthy enough to make it to the playoffs, and then the playoffs. That's it. It's going to be like a Kawhi Leonard situation.
I think the biggest thing, whoa, that's a hot take there. That's another conversation another time, because we're going to move on to some different topics here. I think the biggest thing to come out of this, though, is there's kind of been this thing in the NBA the last couple of years that a lot of people have been really upset about, that the players have maybe a little bit too much power. And I've agreed with that. You just said Kawhi Leonard, right? We talked about Paul George. We've said these things before. But I think this here kind of maybe sets a precedent that the owners do have control and the general managers are the ones in charge. And that's going to lead to a really rocky road that the NBA is going to have to travel down. Let's look at some other trades, because we're not just talking. Matt, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't think JFK even had an exit from Dallas this shocking.
Okay, all right. Okay, gee, that you are not getting sent to for the rest of the evening. You're gonna have to fight for your airtime.
Hey Matt, how's that one-way ticket? How's that one-way ticket? Straight to hell, bro. I ain't gonna lie, that was messed up. I ain't gonna lie, that was messed up, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey, is he getting 50 million though? Is he getting 50 million? Let's go to the biggest.
JFK never dropped 77.
Let's go to the biggest trade of the day. Once again, it's February 5th here. Finally, after being suspended, and pull yourself together. After being suspended 3 times by the Miami Heat, finally the Jimmy Butler situation in Palm Beach has been solved, and it's been solved in probably the lamest way of all time. Jimmy Butler has gone to the Golden State Warriors. In exchange, this is a 4-team trade. It was 5. It got cut to 4. The Heat have received Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, PJ Tucker, and a 25 first-round pick. The Jazz receive Dennis Schroeder, and the Pistons receive Lindy Waters and Josh Richardson. Finally, Jimmy Butler can play again. This was one of the 2 biggest destinations everyone thought he was going to. Phoenix was one of the other options, and Warriors, those were the top 2, and there were some oddballs here and there. But Jimmy Butler is finally off the Heat. He will resume playing. Rob, I'll go to you first because I know you're a huge Jimmy Butler guy. What's your thoughts on this?
It's a nasty fit. It's a really nasty fit with the Warriors. Of course, they're just looking to get an all-star to play with Steph. Honestly, I thought they should have just shopped Steph. Get him out of there. Steph belongs somewhere else at this point. It's not working out. Stop trying to hold on to something that's not working. I'm going to need whatever tape ends up coming out when Draymond and Jimmy get into it. I need it. That will feed generations. I need to see it. But I'll be honest. I think that getting Jimmy going there, maybe it works out. Maybe. I don't think it will. It's not putting you over the edge. If anything, like I said, you have Steph. Imagine if they had a big like AD or something, right? Imagine someone like that playing in Golden State. It's just not going to work out with Jimmy. You need the outside shooting. He's going to attack, and you let go of a lot of stuff. You have a lot of the same player. You have Jimmy Butler. You have Kuminga. What are they going to do differently? What is Draymond going to do differently than the other 2? A lot of the same players going on over there. I really like Andrew Wiggins in Miami, though. I love that fit.
It's going to be fun to see them play together. I don't know if it gets any playoff success. They're old. They're just old. Jimmy Butler is not getting any younger. I mean, maybe if they were together a couple years ago, it'd be something to look at. But you got him out. You got the cancer out the locker room. The Heat win automatically. So
I'll tell you what,
you're just ageist. You just hate old people.
Hey man, the Heat get some pretty good figures out of this, man. I'll tell you what, Pat Riley, you can say what you want about him, but you got Andrew Wiggins and Kyle Anderson in a 25 first rounder. I mean, PJ Tucker, I mean, he's got a NBA championship defender. So the Heat walk away pretty good with this. And what's your thoughts on this, buddy?
Man, the NBA is literally the streets right now, bro. I'm not going to lie, bro. Literally Monday. I mean, just Monday. Jimmy Butler said he didn't want to go to the Warriors because the Suns were going to offer them more money. That's what he felt like. And who were the Warriors looking to get? Kevin Durant. Like, it makes no sense. Like, it's
I forgot.
The Warriors were looking to get Kevin Durant.
Rob's real reaction to that.
They were looking to get Kevin Durant.
We got another trade. We got another trade. Just happened.
What?
Break it to us.
The Los Angeles Lakers are trading Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, a 2031 unprotected first-round pick, and a 2030 pick swap to the Charlotte Hornets for Mark Williams. They got their center.
For Mark Williams. Okay.
Bro, what? Bro, what?
What?
Is that like an accountant? Like who is that? Who is that?
Dude, I know 5
Mark
guys on Lower
Williams.
Whacker who could have done that job.
Mark Williams.
Hold on.
Bro is listed off the Avengers, and then he just named some guy who works at Jay's Fish Shack in Maryville.
He said that accountant.
Mark Williams this
Hold
season.
on.
Williams this season's averaging 16 and 10 for the Hornets. He was one of the top center, one of the top guys. If a team was looking for a center, 7-footer. So I think that's a big thing.
Okay.
I'm shocked they gave up Knecht. I was not.
I wasn't
him at all.
All right,
Dude,
I wasn't familiar with his game.
When you
that might be the dumbest thing they do.
No, when you said Knecht, I'm thinking like, oh my god, they got like KD. they pulled somebody insane, and then you
That was
pull
such a
out Mark
letdown.
That's what I was waiting for. That's what I was waiting for. That was like a roller coaster. That was like a roller coaster.
You said
that built
Charlotte
up, and then
Hornets.
There was no track here, so we just crashed on the
You
on the roller
said
coaster.
you said a Hornets. I'm thinking like, oh my god, they got
LaMelo Ball.
LaMelo.
That's literally what I was thinking in my head too. That's literally what I was thinking in my head.
I thought honestly he was like to the Hornets, to the Charlotte Hornets, the Los Angeles Lakers get Michael Jordan. It's like whoa, go crazy.
All right.
They traded Knecht. Ain't Knecht a rookie?
Yeah, he's a dude from Tennessee.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's crazy.
I mean,
Listen,
it's
The streets, bro. It's the
Charlotte and
streets.
The Wizards. We're going to talk about the Wizards a little bit more in our extended version. The Charlottes and the Wizards are legitimately NBA purgatory. You go there to like learn a lesson, and then you go somewhere else, right? We're going to talk about that in a second. We do have a
what
little
was
bit
John
more
Wall's
time.
punishment?
We have a little bit more time left here on our WJOB segment. Me, Anthony Hudson, and Caleb are going to take a back seat for a little bit here because we had an incredibly big event in Indianapolis this past weekend, and we have 2 of the biggest WWE fans I know here on the call with us. I'm Rob, Matt, you guys got the last couple of minutes before I cut you off for our hard exit. I'll start with, I mean, how was it, man? Did you guys enjoy yourselves? Tell us about it.
Rob, did you go to Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I was there.
You guys were both
Nice.
there.
Oh, that's
You were
dope.
both there.
Nice.
All right, Matt, you got to start. I mean, you have a championship belt on your shoulder.
This is the Indianapolis Royal Rumble exclusive
got
championship
it.
belt. Yes, I did. I had to search far and wide for this. I'm not disappointed with the results. If anybody watches WWE, they know, and even if you don't watch it, everyone here probably knows John Cena's last year is this year. And I also want to point out, if anybody's tuning off now, WWE is not fake. If you want to go to Stone Cold Steve Austin and say your 7 knee surgeries were fake, I would love to see him punch you in the face. It is scripted and predetermined. That is the best way that I feel like I can describe it. The movesets are real. Everything they do is real. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
No. You know what? It's your segment. I'm good.
One thing I like to say when people talk about wrestling is you guys hey, John, you like Marvel movies, right?
So this is okay. This is what I was going to interject.
No, answer the question. Answer the question.
No.
Answer the question.
I'm saying no. I know where you're going with this, and this is what I was going to say. It's like, yes, I like Marvel movies, and I've been one of the people who have said it's fake, but like I do understand like it's just entertainment, and like that's what I was going to come to.
That's where I was going with it.
I was going to come to your defense where it's like, yeah, everyone knows that, but it's like, it's fun to watch. And I'm not a fan of it, but I understand the appeal. That's what I was going to add. All right. The segment is back to you guys.
All right, Rob, let me ask you this. What did you think of the returns? Like Alexa Bliss coming back, Charlotte Flair coming back. You saw Logan Paul coming back. I mean, he came back on Raw, but you see these guys coming back. What did you think? AJ Styles was a big one.
AJ Styles, that pop was great. Of course, I love that they gave him back his old theme as well, the phenomenal one. The Alexa Bliss one was shocking because a lot of people said it probably wasn't going to happen with everything going on with her contract. They thought it wasn't going to end up going through. I'm just getting sick and tired of them forcing Charlotte on us. I'm really getting tired of that. I thought Jordan Grace, that was a very nice official WWE debut. Of course, with TNA last year in the Rumble. The Women's Rumble, I have to say that might be the best Women's Rumble ever. It was fantastic, except for Charlotte winning. Huge shout out to Roxanne Perez, too. Longest time ever in a Women's Rumble.
That was fantastic. I wish she would have won. I understand I understand why she didn't. She's got a match coming up for the championship, so I get it. but I would have liked to see her win. What did you think? First off, I don't know if you care. I'm not a big fan of the tag team matches right now. I don't think Triple H's booking of tag team is that great. I think it needs some work.
I went to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. No. I got food, got a beer. That's what I did during that match.
Yeah, I didn't pay too much attention to that one.
Did you watch the Cody and the Kevin fight?
That could be up for match of the year. I know it's early. I thought KO died. You had the bump in the ring where both of them laid there, and then when his head went through the mat, that it looked like he got decapitated on the side of the ring.
Yeah.
That was some of the cool. I mean, I don't want to say some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen, but that was one of the craziest spots I've ever seen live. This was actually my first WWE event since I was 8 years old. So it was really fun to do that. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Hammond, but the Hammond Civic Center, they had WWE superstars when I was a kid there. Got to see like Rey Mysterio, the Great Khali. So it was great to be able to go to my next one at this point. And the Royal Rumble's my favorite pay-per-view. I've seen all of them like 3 times. I'm just obsessed with the Royal Rumble. So this being my first one was pretty cool.
I thought Kevin took a really good spot with that ladder. I was worried. I did see Nick Aldis. For anybody that doesn't know, when somebody is actually hurt in wrestling, they hold up an X. But it has to be the official because they are medically trained. Nick Aldis was holding up the X, so he was not actually hurt. It was part of the story. He was back on Monday night, 2 days. 2 next days. He was back on Raw attacking Sami Zayn. I thought Kevin taking that spot was incredible. I don't know if... he is indentured legend now. He is amazing. Going down as one of the best heels of all time with this run he's having. And taking that spot and putting Cody in the position to become a heel is insane.
Homelander.
No, he's going to be Homelander.
We need
I was a little skeptical at first when John Cena announced he was going to be the Royal Rumble. I thought he was going to win, and then it transitioned. We'll get to that in a minute. It transitions to somebody else that I thought, but
nope, you got like 30 seconds left, bro.
All right, Men's Rumble. Were you happy with it?
Oh, yeah, I was great. I wish CM Punk would have won. I understand why John Cena didn't. What's probably going to happen is John Cena will win Chamber but lose at WrestleMania. So that way you just keep building up to him not winning that championship until he finally does win it. What about you?
Yeah, and I thought CM Punk was going to win. There was a huge shocker. Of course, as everyone knows who listens on WJLB, I'm the biggest Tribal Chief fan there is. Always acknowledge your Tribal Chief. But I'm happy for Jay. I don't know why people are so pissed about it.
He deserves it.
He absolutely deserves it. He's the most over superstar in the company right now. Give it to him. Yeet. But I think that it was really cool. I'm glad Cena didn't win. And the Men's Rumble, people were mad about it. One of the best of all time.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Absolutely great episode. For those of you listening on WJOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, and watching on the Jed TV app, we thank you for joining us. You're going to get sent off to something else. And make sure you come over to Spotify and YouTube. You're going to watch the rest of this. We have a lot more to talk about, and you don't want to miss it. So we will see you later. Matthew, with that big old belt. Say it.
Podcast out.
And then we're in. So for those of you who are joining us on Spotify and YouTube, thank you for the extended version. The Matt and Rob thing, I'm going to talk to them, but we're going to have like a wrestling segment, like its own show, because you guys really enjoyed that, and you guys obviously want to talk about it more. Let's get back into these NBA trades because there was a lot more that happened.
Before we get to an NBA trade, we missed an NFL trade.
An NFL?
Not a trade. Myles Garrett requested a trade.
Yeah.
I would like to briefly talk about that just for a couple minutes because I think he's a important piece that we missed during our Super Bowl segment. If the Chiefs lose, they are going to get Myles Garrett. They won't give up Chris Jones. They will find a way to get Myles Garrett. I don't know who they give up. Maybe they give up a pick. Maybe they give up somebody else. They will find a way to get Garrett, and we will see them back in the Super Bowl next year.
Well, the Browns are just
the other option. The top 2 teams that get him, I believe, are the Bears and the Packers. One of the Bears or Packers are going to massively overpay for Myles Garrett, so the other one doesn't get him. That is another thing I believe.
I mean, the 3 teams that he planned on going to are the Lions, the Falcons, and what was the other one? I forgot, but those are the 3 teams. I think it was the Browns. I mean, not the Browns, the Steelers, if I'm not correct. But yeah. But no, I definitely can see that Brown Packers trade, Matt. That really is true. I do want to ask, what's a heel? What's a heel, bro? What does that mean?
Let me try to explain this. So a heel in wrestling is someone who purposely plays like the antagonist.
So Roman Reigns, okay.
Bro, I was trying to jump in, but they were just back and forth like this, bro. I was gonna ask about AJ Lee.
Yeah, bro, autism goes crazy.
Yeah,
I could go all day.
No, I was gonna AJ Lee didn't return, bro. I heard people were upset about that.
It was like
watching right now.
It wasn't going to happen.
Real quick, I got
but,
ESPN on my TV right now, bro. Shams looks tired. This man looks like he has not slept in 4 days.
Woj just taking the greatest nap of his life.
Can we extend the trade deadline 12 hours so this man can get a 12-hour nap in, and then we can come back and just let the man...
Is the deadline tonight?
It's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I think.
He's probably not sleeping for a little bit more. Listen, it's 11:28 here in the region at the time of the recording this, so pretty much all the NBA games are wrapping up. So now, I mean, a lot of teams don't want to trade anymore. We're not done with the Myles Garrett thing. Rob, or did anyone else have anything to say before we move on to the NBA?
I saw on Adam Schefter was on McAfee, and he actually mentioned Myles Garrett to the Bears. They said that that's a possibility with that number 10 pick that they have. Because what are they going to do? Is it possible you actually go Gene T? Do you go with an offensive lineman that maybe is not worth that value there?
I'm sick of these offensive linemen I'm sick of these offensive linemen at 7 to 15. I'm sick of it. They don't work out. It just trade for a defensive player and develop our offensive line. We finally have an offensive-minded coach. We're going to be fine. I truly believe the Bears will figure it out.
I think.
Can you imagine that defensive front
line
with Myles Garrett,
okay.
Jervon Dexter, and Montez Sweat?
Breathe,
imagine that front.
No, he says everything's okay. It's going to be fine.
It will. Come on. You got to have faith.
You sound like you're trying to convince yourself everything's going to be fine. You seem stressed.
I am. Okay. All right. So
let's go into the rest of these NBA trades. Let's start with the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks acquire Kyle Kuzma, Patrick. I don't know. They get the Bucks get Kyle Kuzma. The Wizards, they send the world's sweatiest man just in front of Usher at the Super Bowl to the Wizards as Chris Middleton. There comes a couple of other pieces as well. It also requires a 2028 pick swap. So are the Bucks making moves here? I like this. I talk about, listen, the Wizards are NBA purgatory, right? When you're not hitting what you're supposed to, you get sent to the Wizards to learn your lesson. You got to eat grits and you got to drink your eggs. You really you're in the dirt, right? Jordan Poole, flew too close to the sun. Now he's in Washington. He's waiting for the next team to pick him up. You look at Daniel Gafford, right? You look at Valanciunas. We're going to talk about him in a second. But we're going to start with you guys. The Bucks. How do we feel about them now? Because they look like they're trying to keep Giannis. Giannis has been shaky. He's been on the trade talks and he's been saying, hey, if the Bucks aren't going to invest in winning, then I'm not going to either. And it looks like they kind of are.
I like it.
Yeah, no,
I like this trade. Middleton hasn't done anything, and you look at Kuzma,
he's only getting older.
Average. Yeah, and I mean, you get a guy who's younger. He's got a championship, and I mean, he's someone that you can bring off the bench. He creates his own offense. He could dribble the ball. He can dribble handoff, cut, whatever you need him to do. Kuzma gets the bad rap because he was Hollywood for a little bit, Yeah, he was hanging out with Lonzo doing all that.
I think he cut that out. I think he kind of matured.
Yeah, I like this fit a lot.
Yeah.
Caleb, what about the Bucks?
It adds to it because Chris Middleton does have the tendency to disappear during the playoffs. He is supposed to be the Robin. Sometimes he's just not the Robin. Kuzma, he's been in purgatory, like you said, for way too long in Washington. He's been playing well. He did put out a tweet or something where, it said that the Washington Wizards were going to make the playoffs or something crazy like that. So it's good to see that he's delusional. But, he's on a good team. Hopefully he can pair well with Giannis if needed, or he can just, push that team over the hump.
I just said Valanciunas. Valanciunas goes to the Kings. He was one of the targets that the Lakers were looking at for a while, but obviously they went in a different direction, as Rob just said. By the way, real quick, that Dalton Connect, Richardson trade. That another thing. I know you said it was a pick was in there, Rob. You didn't say the year. It's a 2031 pick. Statistically speaking, one of us here will be dead before that happens. Just saying.
Sounds like you got a hit. You got a hit.
Just saying.
Maste's got a hit out on us.
Just Rob, anyway.
You never know.
Speaking of the Kings, they were a part of a massive trade, a 3-team trade between the San Antonio Spurs, the Sacramento Kings, and our very own Chicago Bulls. The Spurs, it's between the Spurs and the Kings on who came out on top. It depends on how you look at trades. This might be the equivalent to Paul George and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Paul George trade. Because listen to this. The Spurs, they get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. Now, Matt and Caleb, I don't think he's related to the McLaughlin that is a sworn enemy of the show. I think it's just a coincidence that his last name is McLaughlin. That's a little Easter egg for you longtime listeners of the show. The Kings, they get Zach LaVine, Sidney Crosby, the Hornets 25 first round draft pick, the Spurs 27 first round draft pick, the Wolves 31 first round draft pick, the Bulls 25 second round, the Nuggets 28 second round, the Bulls 28 second round. The Bulls in this situation, they get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Hunter, and the 25 first round draft pick from the Spurs, which was originally theirs, so they get it back. So who do you guys think win this trade? Do you guys value a player in De'Aaron Fox, who him and Wemby are probably going to make each other Hall of Famers if everything works out? Or do you value the Kings, who have essentially become the new OKC and they've stockpiled a lot of picks?
I feel like Fox and the Spurs definitely are going to be the key takeaway or the one to win the trade. I mean, you look at Fox, he has been an underrated point guard in the NBA for a very long time. I mean, he's the fastest point guard I think I've ever seen, honestly. Yeah, he's so blazing quick. And you had that with Victor Wembanyama. I mean, I butchered his name like I always do, but he's been great. One of the best defensive players in the as far as that, I really feel like all three teams won. Like, for real. Like, you look at the Bulls. Yeah, no. Bulls.
Keep going.
No.
Off this.
Let me go. Bulls have been mid for 5 years. Literally 7th seed playoff win. It needs to be scrapped.
I agree.
Completely scrapped.
Pause.
No.
I agree. No, Rob, I'll mute you. The reason I'm putting the timeout.
Why do you have the power to do that?
This is my show. The reason I'm putting the timeout is because you said, hey, we've been mid, we get rid of everything. But then there's a second piece of it's separate of this trade. There's a separate piece of news in there. Lonzo Ball signs a 2-year, $20 million contract extension, right? So yes, you're talking about, hey, the Bulls have been mid and we really just need to let it go. And then we have this Lonzo thing. Folks, we have been bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived with Lonzo Ball. And we put this man back on the roster. Now, I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's back in the NBA. As someone who's dealt with a sports injury, I'm sure everyone in this call has dealt with a sports injury at one point. I'm happy to see him back playing. Am I happy it's for the Bulls? No. All right. Let's absolutely blow up the United Center. Let's rebuild it in Project 1901 or whatever it's called. Let's melt down the Jordan statue and sell it off. We need to completely
That's crazy.
reset. We need to completely reset the entire team. And any ounce of that 2020 squad cannot stay.
I think the Lonzo Ball signing was more of a you're back. We feel bad for you. Here's $20 million. It was a pity sign. Like, that's what I genuinely, no joke, no hyperbole. I think it was a pity sign. Like, we know you're not going anywhere else, but you're still a decent player.
Jokes aside, because that's all that was. Ant, you are 100% correct. Rob, you are 100% correct. I'm clip farming there. I'm happy to see it. The Bulls in an actual rebuild. Listen, I've said it for a while. Rob, you've said the same thing. It's like, hey, Kobe White and Patrick Williams, if we can get something going with them, that's pretty good. And now we got this rookie, Matas, he's like in the rookie of the year runnings if he just gets some more minutes. And I think we really have something going here. So getting a pick back and getting some young guys, even if we, bid them off, I don't really know what Kevin Hoyter does except have red hair. That's really all I know about the guy. I mean, I'm happy. I'm as a Bulls fan, I'm happy. I can appreciate when your team just says, hey, this isn't us anymore. Also, I think it's hilarious that DeMar DeRozan left Zach LaVine and he's back with him. Gotcha. Gotcha, bitch.
I want to give a little perspective on this Bulls trade because I was going to say exactly what Ann said, that the Bulls were the real winners in this trade because they have decided to finally go into a rebuild mode. I cannot wait until I get that Nikola Vucevic notification tomorrow, wherever he ends up going. But I do want to say, because of this trade, and I've been battling with Xfinity, trying to get Chicago Sports Network on Xfinity, I actually subscribe to Chicago Sports Network, and I'm paying the subscription for it because the Bulls made this trade. And I watched my first Bulls game today because I love watching teams that suck, and then it's only going to go up from there. So I'm super excited now. I'm
Valentine,
watching Bulls
no!
basketball again.
Do I have a baseball team for you, buddy?
I can only think about Cristiano Felicio right now.
That was my
Those
boy.
times.
My
No fuck.
We're not on air, so this one's going on YouTube.
Caleb,
It's
this
okay,
is the
Caleb.
exclusive one. You're okay.
Oh my god, bro, no.
look like a little kid.
God.
Like your mom caught you cussing.
I forget, dude, it's almost midnight. I have work in like 4 or 5 hours, so
You're good.
I
You're good. We're going to wrap it up here soon. So who else is on the market? Obviously, Nikola Vucevic is still there. I mean, who knows what Kevin Durant's going to do? That might be a big name we see move tomorrow. Well, at this point, it's today because this show will be aired on Thursday. Is there anything else? We'll go one time around the horn, and then we'll get out of here. Are you guys expecting anything else from the NBA, or do you think we're about, out of gas?
we'll wake up to something.
Yeah.
We will.
I mean, I'm trying to think of I think Vucevic is one of the biggest guys out there that could be traded, because you just have to look at, the disappointing teams in the NBA right now. Just it's rough. Could Paul George get traded? How disappointing, the what's it called? The 76ers,
The Sixers have been so bad.
It's been really bad. Cam Johnson.
I got a great idea. The 76ers should give Paul George to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Oklahoma City Thunder should give Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to the Sixers and about 50 draft picks. And let's see what happens again.
Let's see what happens.
Don't give the city of Philadelphia anything good. Don't give them anything good.
Yeah, Bryce Harper's on TikTok now.
We talked about it briefly when Rob brought up this trade to Charlotte from whoever. And is it a possibility LaMelo gets moved? I mean, they're not doing anything.
They have.
Is it a possible?
So Shams just posted this as well. All right. So the Hornets, he reposted, excuse me. This is from Bobby Marks. The Hornets own their first round in the next 7 years. They top 14 protected first from Miami in 27, unprotected in 28. Top two protected first from Dallas in 27. Right to swap firsts with the Lakers in 30, and an unprotected first from. Let me scroll down here. From the Lakers in 31 as well. So they have like a pretty bright future ahead of them. Now, I think that's a ways away. Those picks are a long time coming. So I think the best thing to do is, if you're really serious about this rebuild for the Hornets, is you have to get rid of LaMelo, because his value right now is really high. And as he continues to get older and more injury prone, it's going to keep going down.
Vuk for LaMelo. I'll take that. Please put the Ball brothers on the same team. LeVar gets a statue next to Jordan.
We can get a Triple B's jersey. Just have that going there. It says Bulls there. One more guy I want to throw out there, DeAndre Ayton.
Ooh.
I think DeAndre Ayton could get moved.
If KD gets moved,
dominating.
Ooh.
I think it's a situation. I think it's a situation where he needs the right team. I think he needs. Honestly, hear me out here. I think. I'm not saying he should go there, but I'm saying this would be the best fit for him. I think DeAndre Ayton going to the Nuggets would be the best thing for him developmentally, to play with Jokic as well as DeAndre Jordan, who a lot of people compared him to, not just because of the name, but because of play style. You got to put him on a team with a center mindset. He just hasn't had that, right? They tried to do a Lob City in Phoenix a couple years ago. It worked out, and then they blew it against the Bucks, and it's just gone downhill since. You got to find a way to develop the guy, and if not, he's just going to be in this purgatory for the rest of his life.
Are you talking about when Chris Paul got addicted to going to the finals?
He got over it, man. Good for him. He also got addicted to not being loyal to his wife. That's going to do it for this episode of No Game.
Okay.
What?
Strays, man. Strays everywhere.
It's not a stray. I pointed directly at him. It was not a stray, but I aimed for Chris Paul. All right. CP3. He lost 2 rings in a year. Pause.
He doesn't live in Dallas. You can't aim at him.
That's gonna do. Oh my god, that's twice. That's twice. And when a JFK reference in 2 shows. That's gonna do it for this episode. Go ahead. What's up? What's up, baby? I think he can get. Listen, I'll tell you what. We're going to continue on now. I think he might get moved. If Rob just asked that question, who else do you guys think could be moved? I mean, if they just moved Ingram, they might move Zion and just restart completely.
What team goes after him?
Hawks, please.
Knicks.
Shanghai.
Yeah, at this moment.
I could see if the Bulls
Bradley
get rid of
Beal-
Vuk.
Bradley
see them going
Beal,
after
and
Zion.
real quick, Bradley Beal will not waive his no trade clause. So all that work of benching him and putting
That's tough.
onto the starting lineup did not do anything. So attaboy, Budenholzer and whoever is in charge of the Phoenix Suns over there. I can see the Knicks potentially going after Zion.
That would be pretty nice. With
I don't
Cat.
know, because everything's working so well there in New York. I don't know if you want to shake it up. I don't know if it's worth it.
One thing's for
I can
sure,
see
he
it.
has to get out of New Orleans. He can't handle the food down there. Like,
The
he
gumbo
needs to
too
get
good.
out of there.
The gumbo too good.
He needs to leave.
What if this here? Hear me out. I mean, you just talked about the Hornets setting up for the future. What if the Hornets use some of those assets to go get Zion to pair him up with LaMelo?
That's not a terrible idea,
A lot
but
of
is
people have
that
talked about that for years. Put him on the
I don't mind that.
Grizzlies. Get rid of Jaren Jackson Jr. No, I'm just kidding. They'll never do that. They'll never do that. That's a terrible decision. And the second it came out of my mouth, I regretted that immediately.
That's not
Let's
good. They
put
can
that
cook
entire-
down there in
let's put the
Carolina.
entire what draft class is it? It's Zion and RJ Barrett
Barrett.
and John Morant are on the same draft class, right? Yeah, let's put them all on the same team and see what happens. Let's see how quickly that draft class gets out of the league. Are we done now?
you can't put Zion in Memphis.
A team full of YNs is crazy, bro. I ain't.
bro. You can't do that.
A team full of YNs is crazy.
It's getting late, and Caleb needs to go to work in the morning. For those of you joining us, okay, Jesus. Rob, Matt, and Caleb, thank you guys so much for joining us here as always. And a little quick announcement, I don't think you guys even know this. If you're watching here on Thursday or whatever it is, if you have time, tune in to Spotify and YouTube on Saturday morning. We are going to have a very special UFC episode. We're going to quickly look at all the fights, and we're going to have it a little bit of a companion similar to what Rogan does, except significantly less money involved. So we're going to have a UFC episode out on Saturday. For those of you listening on Spotify and YouTube, thank you very much. Matt, I think I already asked you to do the podcast out thing, but do it one more time.